Okay, that was humbling and disappointing, but I think this was coming for a while. Um, and what we probably need to go through is it's not the end of the world, but it also doesn't look good. But yeah, welcome, Dom. That was
Yeah,
chastening.
yeah. Thanks, Dev. Yeah, that must have been a great game for you to stay awake for at
Oh,
3
yeah.
a.m. out in Sydney. Yeah, that must be a great feeling right about now. But yes, to your point, this was coming, and this was a well-deserved loss. I would say if we have to give props to Sevilla because you know what, they've played some tremendous football. Yes, we've played horrible football, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But they've just outplayed us. And I saw that comment from the Sevilla coach afterwards that he studied Barca and that he knew exactly what to do, and it looked that way. It looked that he had a plan and he executed on that plan perfectly. And Barca just couldn't help themselves, right? And Flick couldn't help much. To be fair, yeah, the second half was better. I think we did fix a couple of things in the second half, but it wasn't enough. Far from it. Far from it. And the first half was, I would say, somewhere up there with the worst halves of football we have played under Hansi Flick so far. That would be my initial thoughts, and then we can see what else to talk about. What about you?
I don't know. I think we got it wrong, but I mean, where do you start? I think you can say that the starting lineup was wrong. You can say the personnel were wrong, but where are the people? I think there is a lot wrong here. I mean, and we talked about it in the past.
Yeah,
Like we
yeah,
have we have we've struggled this season from day one, and we have noticed that yes, there was the wins, but we struggled. We struggled across Levante, we struggled across Rayo, we struggled across PSG, we struggled against Sevilla. It isn't the same team, and we talked about it that when a team wins that emphatically, you have to upgrade that team in modern day, and
mm,
we didn't. For whatever the reason, we didn't have the money, stadium, politics, economics, finance. There are
yeah,
many reasons. Let's not go there. But the point is, I disagree with the belief that that the club did a good job of strengthening the team where it needed. They didn't.
mm,
There is no
mm,
strengthening. This is a very thin squad, which was not adequately replenished for a coach who had delivered on his promise.
yeah,
And now he has a team where, like, he has half the first team people out, and there are no capable substitutes who can come in and play the same game. That's number one. Number two, the ones who are also there, they're already gassed out 8 games into the season. So I don't know what kind of preseason was there or what have you, but they look completely out of sorts. So if you take that in these two into accounts, there are reasons why we are playing the way we are playing. Tech is not a goal. Like, we can't play with Tech. Like, we were lucky last year, but how many mistakes has he done? And I'm not blaming. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. We like him. He's a fun character,
yeah,
but you can't play with Tech. Every time he's on the goal, like, you're scared. Today there were other things also. Football is a game of fine margins. Like,
mm,
Lewandowski scores that goal. Rooney scores those two goals, which were like open searers, and we would have scored two more. And this would have been a totally different conversation.
yeah,
Or Sevilla scored the 5 goals that they should have scored in the first half, and we would be completely out of, we should have probably conceded three more, and that would have been 8-0 or something like that. So football is a funny game that way.
mm,
And there's a lot of revisionism that goes around. And we'll talk about a lot of other things. Um, yeah, Wendy, I'm okay. I agree. We all have our points. I think it's phenomenally thin. You don't think that's thin? That's fine. That's okay. And yes, they are injured, but but the replacements that we are seeing are barely there to cover. Like, if you look at that sheet, I'm like, yeah, there are a lot of players, but I don't know who has the quality to come and man to man go with elite teams out there and so on. So yeah, okay. As I said, like, everybody has a point of view. Your point of view is it's not thin. My point of view is it's thin. That's it. So we can graciously disagree with each other. But back to you, Tom.
yeah. At the moment, unfortunately, it is very thin. At the moment, there's no depth to speak of. Obviously, injuries have played their part. They always do for Barca for one reason or the other. And we've tried to prevent that this season. I think this season Flick has done things to prevent this from happening, and we've got different people working at the club as well, different physios, different people taking care of the players, and it still happened, right? It still it keeps happening rather. So I think it's just one of those things where sometimes injuries are a roll of the dice, and sometimes you can't prevent them. Sometimes it just happen. Now with with this squad at the moment, they seem physically but also mentally out of it
Ultimately out.
completely. Right? Mentally out, and that PSG loss, I hope it's not the first domino that kickstarts something even worse. And now we always dread the international break, but this break is
It's good.
perfect.
This
Yeah,
break
yeah,
is good.
it's absolutely is good. We need this. We need a break. We need a reset. We need a mental, physical reset. We need a reset of every kind, because this, had there been like 2 or 3 more games now before the break, we would have lost all of them
All
probably.
of them.
Yeah. It's a bit of an exaggeration from my point, for myself, but it is that dire. I think we're at a point where this team is really grasping for straws. Right, they're not sure what they're doing. And today we saw some Xavi esque things,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And I
totally.
don't.
It was
And
totally.
yeah, and I don't mean this as a shade on Xavi, obviously, but Xavi did some things tactically, and performance wise that were just not suited for this Barca, that were just not optimal. And now we've seen the team kind of revert back into that, which is a worrying sign to me, because when the going gets tough, you need to stick by some of the things that work and not just panic and revert to the things that that we know are not good enough for us. So that's why I would say that mentally we're out of it, because and then it starts from there. Mental fatigue results in poorer physical performance as well, especially when you're playing in a way that Barca like to play, which is
Why
it
are
has
they
to.
mentally fatigued, Dom, 8 games into the season?
I know I had to. It is weird,
Okay,
but
let's
to
take this
me,
question. Let's take this question. What's worrying is the second half against PSG and the first half against this game. We absolutely knackered, and Flake made no rotations. We were knackered, but both the halves had one thing in common. They went aggressive press, man to man, absolutely smothered us, and we had no answers. Right? We couldn't deal with the physicality. We couldn't deal with the press. We couldn't deal with the man to man. But let's keep that aside and say, okay, he didn't make rotations. Who would he have rotated? Dom, let's start with you. We know that Frankie de Jong is tired. We know Pedri is
yeah,
tired. We know Fermin Lopez is not there. Which midfield would you have fielded? And guys, please just put it in. Like Jonathan, who would you have? And we'll have a chat about that. Like,
yeah.
what
There's
team
this.
would he have put in out there, which would have been competitive for this game at the Sanchez Pizjuan?
Yeah, I do think that people want to see Tony Fernandez. I think they want to see Balde from the start. They want to see
I
this
understand
player as
that, but can
well.
they play?
Um,
Can they
yeah, yeah.
withstand this?
I think that's kind of the thing. Yeah, there's not many options out there, and I think going man to man that you mentioned, we called this like a couple weeks when Joe Garcia got injured. I said, okay, you'll see a lot more struggle in a different Barca in the first phase, because it will be a domino effect, right? Because we know Gerard Martin can be kind of suspect when he's pressed.
Balde
We know
came in. Did you feel a difference?
in the second half, yes, there was a difference in the second half. I
But
think in the
because
second
of
half,
Balde, did you feel that okay, he completely changed the game or what have you? I didn't feel that. Sure, he came in, he did his bit, but overall, Sevilla was gassed out after 45 minutes of pressing. We
mm,
had a time within that middle, and we tried to take the initiative, and then Sevilla did not sit back. They said we're going to attack. They knew
yeah,
we were like going for the equalizer. They had acres of space. They did two counters. They got two goals.
yeah.
That was the end of it.
hmm Yeah, I think that's the game state thing that we discussed today as well. That it's just they they've managed to take advantage of us being very desperate to score. But that back line, along with Tech made some good saves today. I have to give him that. But then he's he's in both extremes, right? He makes those saves, but then he doesn't make the saves that he's meant to save. And with
You
his
back them,
feet,
right?
yeah. Sorry,
You got to
what was?
back them, right? I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah,
what's the
yeah,
point if you're putting Araujo and I don't know whether he's injured because he was sitting with an ice leg or whatever,
yeah.
and people have lots of anger about Araujo because of the penalty, but he also saved a couple of goals. Like, I mean, Alexis was clean on goal if it was not for Araujo,
Yeah.
And so there's obviously this happens, and this is normal because people are frustrated
Mm.
and so on. But I mean, yes, you can put Casado. Jonathan, you're right. We can put Casado, right? Okay, so we put one Casado, but both Pedri and Frankie are out of like that gone. Who else? Mark Bernal, Joffrey Torrens,
Yeah.
Tony Fernandez. Those are the people whom we want to play, and we think that they will be able to deliver. They haven't had one proper international season with the first team,
Yeah.
right?
I
We
think both.
already are seeing the outcome of playing these kids in international soccer. Fermin injured, Lamine injured, Gavi injured, right?
Mm.
All these kids, Balde injured, right? So, I mean, isn't that not evident that yes, these kids, they have incredible talent, and we are lucky that we have them. But are they
Mm.
ready for this day in day out, every 3 days a game? You need professionals, and that's going to cost money. And Barca doesn't have it, so they are pushing their kids, and the narrative sticks. But come on, like, are we really, measuring apples to apples here?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing. We don't have many options. I think Casado, yes. I mean, energy wise, counter pressing wise, he does help. But in this setup today, with Sevilla high pressing us like that, I think Flick would always rather have Frankie and Pedri there had he expected this. Obviously, now Olmo as a third player, and that's interesting because Olmo did not do much to help those
He
two
didn't do
guys. And
nothing. I don't know what
yeah,
he did
exactly.
because he was
So
bypassed completely
yeah, so when
throughout the game.
you have such a high press against you, and you playing with two midfielders because the third one is missing and waiting for something to happen up the pitch, that's a big problem. And
Either
and
you
and
do a
then you
4-4-2, or you do a 4-3-3, or you change your shape or do something and you bring
yeah,
reinforcements, or even you do a 5-3-2. Enrique did it with us in PSG at the end. So why can't we
you
change
can.
position or shape, and provide more muscle where we are definitely lacking? But that wasn't there. The personnel
I think
weren't
it's
there.
not really the formation is not see the formation is just on paper, right? These players almost should be moving regardless. So okay, we're playing at 4-2-3-1. Okay. And on paper he's meant to be high up the pitch. That's fine. He is an attacking player. He's number 10, whatever it is. But if you see your team struggling in the first phase or even the second phase, and you're still high up and you don't have the decision making, or you feel chained to your spot, there's a problem. Was that a specific instruction from Flick who said, okay, Olmo, do not abandon your position? I doubt that.
I don't know
Because
what
when
his
he
role
sees,
was. He didn't press. He didn't track
yeah,
back. He wasn't in the midfield. I don't know what he was doing. Like, he's a great
yeah,
player. I'm not denying that. But no formation. I'm not saying the formation is the problem either, Dom or Van Lee. My point is, when something is not working consistently for 90 minutes, you can't still
yeah,
do the same thing. That's just what I'm
that's true.
saying.
That is true. And then
This is
you
the
have
same.
this,
This is the same style of play we played with PSG, and we played with all the other teams, and we have struggled. We struggled with Rayo. We struggled with PSG. We struggled with them. Except for Mallorca, we struggled with every single team this season. So, I mean, somewhere you got to look into it and say, okay, maybe formation is not the problem. Maybe it's all good, but it's not working right now in the
yeah,
way we saw it working. Maybe because we don't have the personnel. Maybe because people are injured and all of that. And that's okay, fine. But that's what adjustment is all about, right?
yeah. And to the comment, Anirudh said Eric and Balde. I think yes, and that did change the game in the second half. Eric and Balde both changed the game because they were the types of players that can exploit some of Sevilla's weaknesses, and I think that worked, right? So now, had we had that from the start, who knows? But it's easy to be the general after the battle, of course, and it's easy for us to say, okay, that should have been done from the start. I don't know. Flick seems to be going by this principle of okay, one guy starts one game and then the next game I'm rotating for the other guy. So it's not. This wasn't situational. This wasn't a game that he thought, okay, this is when I need Araujo. It just it felt to me it felt like a not a random choice, but not like a thought through
Tell me
choice.
something.
Yeah,
Dom, you're a good analyst, right? Xavi, when he played, correct, when he was a
yeah,
coach, correct?
yeah,
It
yes.
wasn't that he was not playing a high line. He was,
Oh, he was, yeah,
okay, right? And we had a high line that was playing, and we had mostly Christensen, Araujo. This was our defense at that time. Kunde
yeah,
as a right back, and then on the other side we had Balde. right, when he was
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
We didn't have the offside trap, right?
No.
But
No.
we possibly, conceded the least amount of goals. We still played the high line, right? So what changed, right?
I think that
Why
was
was that working then with the same kind of players? And why doesn't it work now anymore? Because what, any goal left, and then we suddenly forgot how to do the offside trap, and that's why we are conceding now. I mean, shouldn't we look at it a little bit more holistically on what's happening? Because the players are still there, and now
yeah.
we blame Araujo for everything. And I'm not saying that he's not without his flaws. He has lots of flaws, right? So not
Mm.
standing up for him, but clearly the defense is not working anymore.
Oh
How
no.
many how
Yeah.
many goals have we shipped this season?
Yeah, the thing is, it's not Araujo. It's not Araujo. Obviously, not just him. Today, we actually saw a very Xavier thing, and that was high. It was a high line without the high press. Right? We
Yeah,
saw this, and that destroys you completely. Right? So high line and then no pressure up front. That you can't do that. It's
you can't
either
work.
or. It has to be either or.
The
Today,
second
it
half,
was
the
yeah.
first 20 minutes, if you watch second half, the team was pressing as a unit, and those 20
Mm-hmm,
minutes we were fine. We were playing,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm. Yep.
But to your question, Jonathan, do you think the flick needs to, even if you drop the line, right, the way we play, it's not going to help, because then there'll be spaces in between. I think Dom can explain much better than I can on what happens. But dropping the line is not probably the solution. You'll have, if you want to play in flick style, you'll have to attack as a unit and defend as a unit, which means you
Yeah.
have to run 90 minutes a game. And I don't think we have players to do that. But Dom, I'll let you explain.
Yeah, it's because if you drop that high line, that also means that you can't really have the field domination, the territorial domination, right? We always want to have the opponent pinned down. We want to be the dominating force. Want to be the team that camps in the opposition's half, but you cannot camp in their half if you don't have the high line. If our defense line is deeper and then our forward unit is forward, you get those gaps that Dev was talking about just now. So you can't have one without the other. We can't be the dominating side that controls all the territory and that shrinks the pitch and not have the high line. Defensively, yes, you can drop the line a bit lower, but then you shouldn't press high. If you press high and drop the line, same thing happens. So the team has to be compact whichever way you go. If you're gonna be defending deeper, okay, that's fine, but the whole team needs to do it. Not half the team goes forward and half the team goes back.
But how
We
do you
did that.
press, the Dom, this thing? Like, here's my question though. Rafinha, when he plays last season, he pressed like a demon.
Yes.
Lamine, who was not injured, did massive work on the press on recoveries. Lever was lever, leave him, right? But these two players provided. Right now, with Rashford, there is no press. Lever, no press. Ferran Torres, no press. Who is pressing at the top? And without the press, the midfield's gone. So then what's the point of that highline? They will be breached in seconds anyway. So since we do not have the players, right, for doing that press, don't you think that we need to relook into that strategy of ours?
Yeah, could be an option. Could be an option. I think the mental fatigue that we mentioned, Dev. You asked where does it come from? Yes, it's early in the season, but these players are. We talked about this as well. These fine margins that we talked about. These are all micro decisions that have to happen in a second, right? These players are put in a position where there is only plan A, and a plan A is okay. This is the pressing trigger. Let's say a ball back to the goalkeeper. That's a pressing trigger. Everyone needs to do their job instantaneously and without fault. Because if you're late only 1 second, you jeopardize the whole structure of the team. That is the mental toll that is put on these players every single week. And there is no safety net. Because if that happens, if the dam is breached, if that press doesn't work, if the trigger is not read perfectly in a millisecond, everything falls apart. And Barca don't have any tools to recover because there's no tracking back then because players are all over the place. And you have like 2 or 3 players who can maybe run back. That's it. And the mental and physical toll that does to a body, to a player, especially these young players who are maybe not used to being under such stress at all times, I think that's accumulating now. And every mistake that we make is just adding to it. And it's just a snowball effect at this point. So I think this is where the mental fatigue part comes in. It's just playing in a system that allows for nothing but success, right? Everything has to be perfect. physically, mentally, it has to be absolutely perfect. Because if one guy, one cog in the machine falters, it falls apart. Now we've played these margins last season a lot, and we managed to somehow win. We managed to get those chances. The fate was on us, on our side, right? And Xavi had that exact same thing in his season when we were defensively the best team in La Liga, right, in Europe even, because we've managed to ride the margins really well. We have not conceded goals that maybe out of 10 we would concede many more, but we somehow managed to avoid it. The same thing Flick did with Rafinha last season when we rode the margins and we scored goals that we should not be able to score. So sometimes you can do that, but is that a sustainable thing? With Xavi, proved not to be. Now we're into Flick's second season, and now we're gonna see, okay, is Flick's
Is
system
it working or
sustainable?
not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it sustainable?
The
Because
second
you can
season
do it for
always
one
tells
season.
you a lot about a team. Like
Yeah,
Xavi's first season, like first proper season, we won the league,
yeah,
right? And it
yeah,
was like, okay, we probably didn't love the football, but we were winning, so it was all right. Um, and
yeah.
Flick's first season was outstanding, just
Oh
a
yeah,
season from dreams. But this time around, like teams have caught up, and you can see that they're struggling. And I still don't think we have the bench. I mean, yes, we have a lot of
yeah,
promise, and we are excited about Tony Fernandez and Geoffrey Torrens, and we think that they will come and solve the problem. But I don't think they can solve the problems. I really don't think they can play a couple of games here and there, but I don't think they have it to solve the problems. And then the bigger problem is the goalkeeping problem. I think Pena was a better backup than Tech. Very honestly speaking, I mean, we didn't like Pena as well. That's okay, but with Tech, I feel like we will concede every time he's there. And it may be just me, but I just feel that. And today he should have definitely stopped that third goal. That was just like you
yeah.
cannot miss that
Mm,
if you are a goalkeeper. And it wasn't and that he had like he had time to prepare for it. He had time to look into,
yeah,
and that was just unacceptable. That goal that he conceded. So I think there are problems, so many of these problems. Like Pena lost his faith with Flick because Flick was going with him for a long time, but something happened and he's out. And now we have Tech, and we don't know when John Garcia is going to come back. So that's going to be
mm,
a few more games of this unknown,
yeah,
thing that'll happen. So we have problems at goalkeeping. We have problems at in the fullback position, and we know that Jules Koundé is suffering without Lamine there to
yeah.
provide the support. You can see that his game has completely fallen off because he cannot manage that entire like
No, you cannot.
his role is from, okay, you are defending, you're also bombing up the flanks, you're doing everything, and he can't do that. He just can't. He's out, like, so he can't do anything. So that's fallen through. Our midfield is good, but they have played too much apparently in 8 games, so they're out. None of them have the energy anymore. And Pedri, somebody said he looks knackered. He does look knackered. So that's done. Now you have a Casado. Gavi is not coming back anytime soon. Furman probably maybe in a couple of weeks, but he'll also take time to get to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
space. Almo, he needs a very particular way of playing, particular system style design for him to be successful, and that's not
yeah,
happening. So, um, like the I think fundamentally, if you think about it, like the team needs reinforcements to solve these real problems. I don't think we have the players to solve for it. That's my personal opinion. But given that we won't have it, there are also a couple of things. Like, this is not the end of the season. This is
mm,
October 6th. League will be decided somewhere in March or April. So there's a lot to happen.
yeah,
And in football, you win 3 games and you're like the best team in the world. So it can change. But as you and I think with new people coming in, results will be there. It's never easy to play in Sevilla. Last season, Sevilla was a disgrace. But the Sevilla that we have seen for years have always been difficult to play at the Sanchez-Pizjuan, and it was nothing
yeah,
new. So we faced it again. So yeah, I think it is all right. It is we got a loss. It's a terrible loss, 4-1, and
mm.
it'll hurt. And 2 losses on the back, it'll just kill the morale. But as you think about Dom, this break, and when they come back, what are the things that Flick needs to work on? And I know mentality, and I know things like that. But what specifically would you focus on?
I think this out of possession thing needs to be sorted one way or the other. I think that we have to look at this and say, okay, maybe maybe there are some things that we can we can improve on, because yes, Flick talked about this. He talked about how he doesn't want to change the way Barca play defensively, because that's the way Barca should play. Barca should be aggressive. Barca should be pressing high at all times. And yes, okay, it does play into the whole ideology thing, and we are wired that way. We want that. We want excitement. We want our players to be aggressive and fight for every single ball. And I get that. But at this point, when you're playing such a system that is so fragile at the moment, and your players are not managing psychologically and physically, then maybe he should think about making some slight tweaks. And we will be, guys, we'll actually be releasing a piece and a video on exactly the high line, and whether we think that Flick is actually making some changes. And to his credit, I think he has been making some changes this season specifically, but then sometimes he just reverts back to it and then holds on and doesn't want to change mid game, even though visibly it's not working, right? So I think in those moments,
Well, what do you
there's
tell about today? Like today, he did make change, right? So he bought in Araujo. Sorry, he got Araujo out. He got
Mhm. Yeah,
Eric, and he got in
Eric.
Balde, correct?
Yes,
Barca were
yes,
playing good. They got the penalty. They got two sitters from Rooney. If they bury those three chances, which is what Barca were doing, they're clinical
yeah,
with their
yeah,
with their finishing last year. If they had done that,
yes,
we would have scored two more goals, and this would have been 6-2.
hmm, yeah,
The same
yeah.
game would have been 6-2, right? So
Hmm.
then is it the coach's problem? Is it just the game of 5 inches in football that we didn't finish the chances that we got? Because he had done the thing that he needed to give us back the initiative. We just missed it completely.
Yes, I think that it kind of circles back to it. If Flick is the kind of coach that can do this, and he can coach a team to be lethal, or actually be in the position to score lots of goals. So if he's coaching chance creation at the highest level, and then the team keeps letting him down
Nothing
by
him
missing
the
those chances,
chances.
yeah,
Yeah.
then what does that mean? That means there's only one more controllable variable in this dev, and that's the out of position stuff. Because if you put everything, all your eggs in the attack basket, but the team just can't convert on that on your coaching, because you're giving them the platform, but they can't perform. Okay, you've done your job there. So what is the next logical thing to try and improve on? Because you've done your job with the attacking part. Now you have to look at the defensive part. So to me, we have the firepower. If we okay, Flick has to pick the right players, and a lot of things have to fall in line for us to beat this lethal team. But we have the attacking thing nailed down against most of the La Liga teams. We should be able to score goals against most of the La Liga teams, regardless of which players we have. And our front line today was far from optimal. It was bad. Like the mixture of profiles, it doesn't click as well. But then I think what's left is now looking at the out of possession. That's the thing that Flick needs to work on just now. The attacking part, yes, sure. There was some kinks, there was miscommunication, there was sloppy play, but Barca still have the quality to score goals, and they will always have the quality to score goals, at least against those most of the Liga teams. So I would say out of possession, highest priority would be out of possession.
And in out of
And
possession, are there specific protagonists that you see who need to up their game or something like that?
uh, you could say that, yes. You could point fingers at numerous players, right? They can be, but as a collective, in the system that we play, it's too taxing. It's too unreliable. When it works, it works. When it doesn't, it's a disaster. Should we be playing such a system that has such a high risk, high reward, and then high probability of backfiring? I don't know. It seems that Flick wants that. It seems that he's stuck on that. So we'll see. But I think it's more of a collective thing than it's individual team thing. Because you mentioned this before, Dev. Flick's Bayern had athletes. We don't have
Yeah,
athletes. So
you
maybe that's the
cannot
difference.
compare that team with this.
Yeah. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe Flick wants this Barca to play the way the Bayern played defensively, right? When it comes to ground coverage and dueling, but he just doesn't have the personnel. Even though Lewandowski lost most of
You
his
don't
duels
have a person
today.
like
Yeah,
Muller in that middle of the park roaming around. You
yeah.
don't have it. You just don't have it. You don't have an Aubrey. You don't have an Alaba. You don't different specimens altogether. Just from a physical, ability perspective. I'm not talking about the ability to play football. The kids can play
Mm,
incredible football. No questions on that. But do they have the energy and the stamina and the physicality to go toe to toe? I think that's
Yeah,
where they need time.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's the thing. That's the thing.
correct, and then and the fact of the matter is that Sevilla is not that great a team. Like if you have watched, I can't claim to say that I watched all their games. I haven't, but I watched a couple, and it wasn't that great. We made them look incredibly good today because they had a
Yeah,
game plan. They hit us with that game plan, and we had no answers. And this is where I feel somewhere that a little bit thought needs to happen, because obviously the teams are coming with a plan. So if
yeah,
they're coming
yeah.
with a
They are.
plan, what's your plan to counter their plan? This is what I didn't see in Barcelona today. That's what I didn't see. Like all the teams, they have come with a plan, and you can make it out that they've studied us. They don't want to concede 5 goals, and they
Yeah,
take it really seriously, and they come and they give all in, which is what all these teams are doing. But
yeah, yeah,
knowing that we don't have an answer when we are put under pressure like that, we try to do the same things and it doesn't work, and then this is what happens, is what we see, right? And somebody's making a comment that, okay, Flick's second season at Bayern was disastrous. His actually strategy is really, Flick is weighted to the hand. Okay, right. But I mean, who changes? Does Guardiola change? No. Does Luis Enrique change? No. Does so most coaches, they don't change. Ruben Amorim is also not changing, right? And so on. The question is, within that, is there a way of adaptation that needs to happen?
mhm.
And will we do that or not? Because like the high line is not the problem. Barca has been playing high line. I've been watching Barca 25 years. Barca has been playing high line 25 years. I've never seen them not play the high line. So I don't think that's a problem. It's the personnel, it's how you play and how you go about it, and which is not happening. But do we have even the right players for that before we blame Flick, right? And then some blame can go to Flick as well. But I think there's a lot more to it than just going with it. And again, as I
Yeah,
said, had Lewandowski scored that penalty and had Rooney buried those 2 chances, we would have been happy. It was like, yeah,
yeah. But it's only
great
just
performance,
papering on the
amazing
cracks. Yeah,
performance, great team
it's
performance. Barca do a remontada again, right? And
yeah,
headlines will be written. That's the end of the story, right? But they couldn't. They went for the kill. They were trying. Sevilla got very easy 2 counters, and then they scored 2 goals, and the scoreline looks terrible, and so on. So I think there's a lot into that. But again, there's a lot into this as well. So second season, most coaches get found out. How do you keep constantly refreshing yourself? That's also something worth thinking about. But what does this do? So right now we are 2 points behind Madrid with the Clasico coming up. High chances we might not even make the Clasico if we play this way, for sure. So then that's a 5 point deficit that we are looking. But even then, that's okay. Like I think last year in November or December, we were what, 10 points
yeah. It was
behind
a
Madrid?
10 points behind.
10
Yeah,
points
at one
behind
point we
Madrid.
were up. Yeah, at one point we were in the league by a lot, but then we just flips. And it's the same dip at the same time in the year, which is a bit weird. How does this happen so early in the season that we have such a big drop off? So maybe something to look into. And to your point of adapting, I think that's the key, right? Okay, so you don't have to throw your whole ideology out the window. And Flick's not going to do that. Flick's not going to just
He
wake
will
up one
do
day
that.
and say, "Okay, I'm not the coach I used to be. I'm a new man. I'm going to play a deep block. I'm going to play, I don't know, different type of." But he's not going to do that, and we should not expect him nor want him to do
Neither
that.
should we want
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah,
fine. He should
exactly.
have the
Yeah, it's
freedom to
fine.
run the way that he thinks it
Yeah, yeah,
is. But the point is, like, we'll
yeah.
have to find a solution because we are conceding. Like, look at that. If you add these 2 goals or 4 goals, right, today, Dom, to
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
compilation on Twitter on the goals that we have conceded,
yeah. The
you
same
will see
again,
four
same
more goals
goals.
of the same kind.
Yeah, yeah. They are,
Exactly the same
and
goal.
it is an issue. It's definitely an issue, and it at this point there's a big enough sample to say, okay, this is something that the teams are actually repeating on purpose. It's not just happening all of a sudden, but it's happening because teams are doing it on purpose. And at this point, you just have to, if you're Flick, you just have to go and say, okay, I need to work on this. And to P Boy's point, yes, we called this as well. This team that we currently have without John Garcia, and if Eric is not on the team, and Kubarsi is not, I don't know, on his A game, Barca will struggle with this. And we struggled with this again today and against PSG. Like teams that press us, and if we don't have the players, if we can't access Pedri and Frankie, that's it. And if Pedri and
That's
Frankie
it.
is overpowered, because today Pedri and Frankie were constantly marked, constantly outnumbered, and Olmo was nowhere to be seen. And that's the cue. That's almost cue. Drop deeper, support
But
them,
he can't
create
drop
the.
deep. I mean, I think he's useless if he drops deep. I've
Uh,
never seen him
he
drop deep and do something
only
meaningful.
thing that he has to do. Yeah, I know he doesn't. He just has to be a body that drags away markers. That's it. Doesn't have to touch the ball. He can touch the ball and maybe he can play some passes. It almost has it in him, but doesn't always happen. But it just be a body because then these Sevilla players don't have to mark two players; they have to mark three players, which means they have to add more players to to mark Olmo, which frees up, in theory, frees up Pedri and De Jong a bit more. Doesn't free them completely, but gives them more space to work in, and that's it. Or maybe I don't know, create that numerical equality, or if you can't make superiorities, make equality. Because on equal footing, on paper, we should be able to fight them off, right? Pedri and Frankie against any two other players should beat them
Yeah.
against the press. They should, on paper at least. Now they're tired. They're not in the game. They're I don't know low spirits, whatever it is. Mental fatigue, yes, could be, but on paper they should still be doing that, right? So
Yeah,
it's
I buy that. Okay, I'll take this question from Frank. Problem is Sevilla had way too many chances and they scored as well, so we can't say this. So yeah, you're right, Frank. Right. Actually, in the first half, Sevilla should have been 5-0.
yeah,
No
yeah,
questions on that. I'll be the first person. And if they were 5-0, in the second half, we would have conceded three more, right? Because that's how football goes, and that's 8-0, right? But they didn't, right? That's football. Like if you think about last season, Bayern, when we played them Champions League first game, they should have scored 4 goals in the first 25 minutes. They didn't. We got lucky. Rafinha scored a hat trick out of nowhere, and we won the game, right? Same thing in Clasico, right? First Clasico, Kylian Mbappe was offside how many? 7 times probably, right? They would have
hmm
scored goals, but they didn't. So this is football. This is the game of fine chances. So yeah, they
yeah,
created a lot of chances, and we weren't right, and we could have conceded. But the same way, we also got many chances. So that will be there. Is there a deeper, problem with that? Yes. The deeper problem is that if we don't have the right players to play the way Flick plays, this will constantly keep happening because he does play a high risk, high reward system. And
hmm
last year we were super lucky because our finishing was insane, and Rafinha had a season from heaven, and he just like that's basically why we won everything. But if that does not happen this year, and Rafinha's out, and so on and so forth, um, we are seeing the challenges of that.
yeah, yeah,
All right, let's take one more. The numerous comebacks, which it may indicate some weakness in our defensive strategies. I think there are many, because I don't think we still have a settled defense. I do understand, Dom, the need to rotate in, and I want your point of view as well. I do understand the need to rotate in the midfield. I do understand the need to
yeah.
rotate in the front line as well, maybe the wingers as well. But a settled defense, I think, is very critical. This shuffling that we keep doing in defense consistently. I don't know. What's your take? And what's the best defense that we have? Honestly.
um, what's the best defense that we have? At the moment, if you want names, I think it's still Balde or Martin. Kubarsi still has to play. I think he's been a bit off as well. Obviously, everyone has been, but I still think Kubarsi is in the starting lineup. Now, Araujo with Eric is interesting, but I think Eric has been very good defensively, interestingly enough, this season. Good enough for me to say, okay, he deserves starts. I would give him the
Can he play
start.
at the base of the defense? Can he play the pivot
Oh, the pivot. I wouldn't put Eric at the pivot. Not
or in the
very.
midfield so that he can bring his amazing passing skills where it's needed?
Yeah, but it's the. Yeah, I mean, yes, in very specific situations. Tonight, for example, absolutely not. I don't think Eric has the turning radius or the
No, he doesn't.
close control. He doesn't have the tight space manipulation to sustain this press to evade the press. He's not a Frankie or a Pedri when he has to turn a player and then progress the ball. He needs a bit of space, and then he can run into the space or he can pass the ball in that space. That's fine. But he only gets that space, I think, in the back line most cases, right? There are some teams that will afford him that space in the midfield, yes, and in those cases you can play Eric there as an emergency rotational piece, but not in games like tonight. So I would prefer him in the back line. And then Koundé is still, I think, our best right back, even though he's struggling. But I think he is still the best option
So
there.
Kunde,
Uh,
Eric, Kobarsi, and
Valde, yeah.
Valde. Is that
Valde.
our gala defense?
I think so. I think it is. Now, to your point about rotating players who need to be in constant sync, I think there is some valid. There's some
But
value in
Kobarsi is
that.
no good
But
at left center back. He's not the same player as last season.
yeah, he's not. He's not. He's not. And that's true. It's like he lost. I don't know. He's lost something, and
He
it's.
lost a couple of paces, didn't he?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, something's different about
All these
Kubarsi,
kids
and
who were supposed to be growing, and we were wondering, and we were very happy with their growth, seem to have stalled. All the growth seems to have stalled somewhere, and I don't know. There's a piece out there. But let's
yeah.
take this question. We just had one personal change this season. Irigo and our defense is in shambles. Flick should be well prepared for such changes. I agree the pathetic board didn't back him, but that's not an excuse. No, it's not an excuse. You're right. The board is the board, and our money is the money, and we can't do what we can't do. But just like we can't or should not blame the board because they don't have the money to back the team, why should we blame the coach if he doesn't have the right people to go and play the way he wants to play,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Why does it all come down on the coach? Why is it not on the player? Why is it not on the board? Why is it not a collective failure? Why is it all on Flick? What is he supposed to do? Like, is he going to score the goal for Rooney? Is he going to score the goal? Is he like, what is he supposed to do? Right? And today, like there were mistakes from many people, right? Yes, Araujo was called out, but there were mistakes galore everywhere. There were
Hmm.
mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
you
It's
have to settle it somewhere. You have to have some faith that okay, these are my people. I'm going to depend on these people. They're going to lead the line. Otherwise, the players don't have your confidence. The players don't know what to do. They can't get into any sort of rhythm if you constantly are changing, right? And so on. And I believe like there's a trust issue as well. Like if I'm a player and I know my coach does not trust me, doesn't want me in the biggest of games, and how do I feel consistently? Like what's my performance going to be like? There are so many aspects, right, of this whole thing. So I don't think it's as simple as you just point the finger, okay, your fault, and it's your fault, and it's
yeah.
your fault. I think it's everybody's fault out there that they played the way they played today, and everybody should sit down and just have a think about what needs to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just Indigo. We can't just. It's just not just that we're missing Indigo, so we suck. My defense sucks now. It's not as simple as that, unfortunately. And yes, that's your point. We all like to have scapegoats. We all like to have that one guy that we can point to and say, okay, that's the reason for all of our troubles, because that's the easy way out. That's like say, okay, we take this guy out and we're golden, right? It doesn't work that way. And the thing with Flick's defensive system in particular is that it is a collective effort, and the whole collective falls apart with just one wrong move. And that's the thing. You can't have a system that falls apart with just one wrong move, because then you're relying on being perfect every single game for every single minute throughout the whole season. Is that possible? That's not possible. It's not even. We shouldn't be expecting this from our players either. We should be. That's my biggest issue. This cannot be a system that relies on perfectionism. That cannot be the case. Right. Let's see what else.
Thoughts on John Martin transition to LCB Bravo is not trusted. I mean, that is a big problem itself. I think he needs to be trusted. If you're keeping him in the team, trust him. Trust Christensen. Give them game time. I mean, you can't lose worse than 4-1 anyways, or maybe 5-1, but we could have shipped 8 today. So, I mean, how worse can it be? Give them, build up their confidence, because by doing this, you're forcing you're playing the same people. You are saying that they need rest, but you're still continue to play them. So it's somewhere it's got to, like, I think i I still think Araujo needs to be there. Yes, he conceded whatever. I mean, I don't think it was a penalty in the first place, but we don't talk about
No.
referees, so we won't talk about it. That was not a penalty in any circumstance. But yes, okay, they gave it. Fine. Now you want to blame Araujo for that, you do. But he also saved 3 or 4 goals today, for sure, 100%. That went unreported, but he did, and he has the physicality, he has that energy, and sometimes in certain games you will need that, and so on. So I think he still needs. I think that it's on Flick to manage that from a man management perspective. We have all talked about how good he is at man management. I think right
Yep.
now the team needs a lot of it, because I don't
Oh
think
yeah.
anybody's settled in their position except Frankie and Pedri, because they'll start every game. That's about it, right? So I don't know. That's something that hopefully the international break will come up. But let's leave with some positivity, shall we? It has been negative tremendously. It is just October, guys, honestly, and it's a game of football. Maybe we will
Yeah.
lose. It's okay, right? It's really okay. Doesn't Yeah, it's just a game of football, man. It's okay. We lose, we lose. It's fine. And the fact is that we still have a lot to go. It's October, so it's better that we get the losses now than than in the end of the
True.
season, because that hurts even more. So hopefully we'll learn from it, and hopefully we'll come back, because what was the worst? We were ninth with Xavi the first season, and then we came
Yeah.
back to second, right?
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
And last year we were 10 points behind and we came back. So obviously Barca know how to do this. They're experienced. Their experience will come into play. They'll come back. This is not
Yeah.
going to stay like this for sure. So let's not give up. Let's not like doom and gloom. There's no point in doing that. It's fine. It's a loss. Happens. It's football. So you play sometimes and you lose. It's okay. Just like we
Yeah.
win. But Dom, thoughts from you?
Uh, Closing thoughts. I don't know. It's just, yeah. It's I know it's very difficult to be super optimistic in these situations, but we are that way. We are wired that way as a fan base. We do tend to exaggerate things either way, right? We win, we celebrate for days, and we lose, we sulk for days. And as Dev said, this is early in the season, and I think we needed this because even had we won
Yeah, this
today,
is good.
let's
I
say,
mean, it should
yeah,
hit
yeah,
us really badly
of
so that
course,
we can
yeah.
go back and say, you know what, okay, we are this is better than this.
Yeah, because have we won today and papered over the cracks, nothing will change. We would celebrate the remontada, but then these underlying problems, fundamental problems, would remain, right? So maybe now, with the international break coming up, perfectly timed, by the way, maybe now Flick could sit down and say, okay, let's have a think. Maybe something's not working because obviously we are conceding a lot of chances. We're conceding the same type of goal every single week. I have a little bit of time. Let's see what I can do. So maybe I do trust Flick that he will
We
not
should. He
stand for
gave us the
this.
best
Yeah,
season
yeah,
possible last year, guys. Come
yeah,
on. We
yeah,
defeated
yeah,
Madrid 4 times. We had such a
yeah.
great time. I think we should give him time. There's no
We
point in
should, we
hating.
should.
It's okay. It's fine, man. But he gave us so much happiness and so much fun. And if it doesn't work out, he will be gone.
Mm,
And nobody stays in Barca. If the league's lost and we don't do good in Champions League, then he's gone. All the coaches who have failed to do that have been gone, so he will be gone, and we know it. But till then, let's give him that time and that
yep,
opportunity, because
we
I think
should.
he deserves
We
it.
should.
I think he's done a lot of good for us, and I think, yeah, I love watching when the team is in full flow and we really play and we dominate. So it'll be good. So let's not jump to conclusion. Let's not hate on him. Let's not do the hating thing. It's okay. It's a loss. Hopefully, we'll come back better in the future,
Yeah, yeah.
and that'll be good. But that was it today, guys. Thank you for joining us. A lot of people joined, so thank you. I guess we are all frustrated and we wanted a place to come
Yes,
together and rant, which is
absolutely.
okay. We are ranting, but thank you for joining. Look out for all. Dom's done a fantastic piece on the Highline, right? So you should
I
watch
will
that
do that.
video, and that piece is going to come back sometime in this week. So you should take a look, and we'll write about this game as well. So hopefully in a couple of days. So hopefully you enjoy that. But till then, take care. Keep your spirits up. It's okay. Now we have 2 weeks of no football. Enjoy, relax, feel better, and we come back and we'll join you again after the national break. Till then, Biscal Barca, guys.
Visca Barca, see ya.